there, it's Liz Yuille from Old Staples Craft again, and welcome back, and welcome to, I am starting some little mini-series. Well, I don't know how many there'll be, actually. They could go on forever. Who knows? And today is Top Tip Tuesday. So, I thought I would start by going through adhesives, but also just, you know, read your catalogue. If you've got a catalogue, there is a lot of information in the catalogue, some of which is hidden away. But I thought we would start with adhesives because there is a lot of information and it is quite obviously there, but it's amazing how many people, even other demonstrators, have missed it. So, page 202 has all of our adhesives on it. And I'm not including washi tape as an adhesive. I know it's sticky and it's beautiful, but I see that more as an embellishment rather than an adhesive. And it's not called an adhesive by Stampin' Up, so I will not call it an adhesive. However, what they do include as an adhesive is a silicone craft sheet, which is an adhesive tool, but not actually an adhesive. So I will come back to that, so we will miss that for today. But here's the thing. On page 203, there is this suggested use diagram, which lists everything that you can use for a particular task. So, for example, if you're sticking paper, cardstock and paper, you can use all of these things. So Fast Fuse, Snail. They don't recommend it, the fine tip glue pen, for sticking cardstock and paper, and we'll come back to that. The multi-purpose liquid glue, mini glue dots, etc, etc, etc. So the fine tip glue, they're saying embellishment and glitter and detailed die cuts, which is why I say cardstock and paper, yeah, but detailed die cuts, absolutely. But what they mean by cardstock and paper is if you're sticking a mat to a card front. And believe it or not, we've now got a helicopter flying overhead. This morning, our next door neighbours were having some building works done. My husband has decided that this afternoon is a brilliant day for mashing up the apples that have fallen off the apple tree in the June drop, ready to put them on our compost heap. And now we've got a helicopter flying overhead. We do actually live in the middle of the country, but, you know. Anyway, let's go back. So, I say I'm going to ignore the silicone craft sheet. I will bring it in for one thing, or possibly two. So let us go through the various adhesives one by one, and I'll go through them in the order in which they appear in the catalogue, because it's as good an order as any. So let me just have my catalogue open but out of the way, if you see what I mean. So, we start with Fast Fuse. Fast Fuse is one of those Marmite things. I think people either struggle with it, as in hate it, or love it. I love it. I have taken a while to get used to it. And the reason I'm saying I'm going to bring in the silicone mat is the way I got used to using it was to use the silicone mat to back it. So if I wanted to stick, let's get something narrow. So here's just an offcut of Perfect Plum. So if I wanted to stick this to this, I would run it down here. And whoops, I've got a string that can just pull. Check. And then we've got, and I don't know how well you can see that, so let's see if I can make it a bit more obvious. It's very difficult because my screen is teeny weeny and the other side of a tripod. So you can see that we've got, can you see that we've got a shiny line there on the silicone mat? So if I pulled that straight up, it would go all stringy, but if I just fold it over and then pull it, it will still go all stringy, but it will then come onto this piece of card, which is great. And I can then stick this onto that, press it down, and Robert is your mother's brother. It is well and truly stuck. And if I try and pull that, it will eventually come apart. But if I do it and then get my bone folder and give it a good rub, I'm really pulling quite hard. That is stuck. And if I try and peel it apart, it's going to tear. So that is a really good strong adhesive. I would use this for 3D construction. If you're sticking vellum to cardstock behind something else, because most adhesives will show through vellum, then I would use fast fuse because you know that it's going to get a good adhesion. I would use it for window sheet if you're sticking that round an aperture. But the trick with fast fuse is practice, 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 and don't press too hard. So if I bring this back in, so if I press really hard and then just try and bring it up, and it's, you don't need to do that, just very gently, and then just check it away, and it's easy, no pressure at all. So yeah, don't use too much pressure, and you will be fine with that. But if you are struggling, get yourself a silicone mat or silicone craft sheet, and that will help, because fast fuse will stick, but it kind of doesn't actually. All it does is go stringy. So that will help. Let's just straighten that out. Do watch that your tape is not going off one side or the other, because I was using it on the craft sheet, it now of course has got a glub. But yes, when you do the check, do it alternate ways, or certainly don't always do it in the same direction. Straighten it out every now and again. So yes, fast fuse, brilliant. Right, Snail, if we work across from left to right, is the next one. So called because it looks a bit like a snail. Oh, fast fuse is refillable. The refill is longer than the original. The original is 12 meters. The refill is 20 meters. So don't get new fast fuse. Once you've got a fast fuse, just get replacement inners. And they just, I have to make sure I do this the right way. Oh, otherwise, yep. So it just drops in, and you keep the case. Also means you can take the goobies away. Keep the case, and then just drop the new refill in, and there we are, all ready to go again. And we will do refills on another Top Tip Tuesday, possibly next week. Snail, again, refillable. 12 meters, but you get 12 meters in the refill. So this is 12 meters that then becomes 20. This is 12 that stays 12. Remember to open your little flap, and that goes underneath. This is brilliant for sticking paper to card, sticking card to card that's on a card front, but basically anything where you want it to stick flat on, but it's not got any pressure pulling it from side to side. So can I show you that? Got a little bit of scrap there, and not the other end of my perfect plum. So if I run this down here, and again, you don't need to do any check mark or any of that malarkey with this, you just stop. Then if I pop that on there, having said that, it's not coming apart, but if I do that, it just peels off. So it's quite useful to know that, so that when you do stick your card front on and you discover it's slightly wonky, it will come off. But it will equally not instantly come off if you pull it in that direction. So that's that. So Snail, just remember that goes up and down, and it clicks away. So, you know, if it's wafting in the breeze, just click it away. And as I say, we'll do refills on another Top Tip Tuesday, possibly next week. Fine tip glue pen. I have a love-hate relationship with fine tip glue pen. That is as much as anything because I am not as young as I used to be, and I do find that I struggle with one particular element of it. So I'm finding all the little scrappy bits that are sitting around my desk. It is quite liquid, and I have heard some demonstrators, when they've used half a pot, will then put some multi-purpose glue in it just so it's a little more gloopy, which I might try at some point, but I haven't had the courage to do it yet. However, it's has two tops. So there's the main top, which is the black, which you want to leave on. Then there's the white top, which you unscrew, and it's then got this needle, and that goes into the hole that the glue comes out of. You then hold it to your paper and squeeze very gently, and once you've got the glue running, you don't really need to squeeze. If you squeeze, you will get too much. So once you've put the glue on where you want it, the trick is to then put the needle back in, and this is where I have a bit of a love-hate relationship, because I am of an age where it's not as easy as it used to be, she says, taking 3 goes to get it in. I do find that putting them both on a finger helps, and then you just, and I always tighten it up and then just slightly loosen it, because I have had occasion where it's stuck to itself. You then stick one to t'other, and then you leave it, because at this stage it's got no adhesion at all. You do actually need to leave it to dry, and it will take a while. So what's always quite a good thing to do is, particularly if you're using it for die cuts, find a block that is bigger than the die cuts you are sticking down, and put your block on top, just to hold everything together. So that's the fine tip glue pen. Next is the multi-purpose adhesive, which is my go-to adhesive of choice. I use it a lot. If you've been watching my videos for any time at all, you will know that. Just going to rip a bit off there. So fine tip multi-purpose glue. Most people forget that there is actually an other end. So there is a broad end. I've never used it. I always use this end. I love it. Again, I know some people who don't, but I love it. When you have been using it for a while and it's beginning to get a little emptier than it was, store it that way up so that the glue runs to the pen tip. And when you think it's empty, definitely store it that way up, and you'll probably get another month out of it. You need very little, and again, it's just spread it, and don't do that, and then stick one to t'other. And again, to begin with, it won't set, and there'll be wiggle room. So there you are, wiggle room, which is why I like it, because when you're putting card fronts onto a card, you've got a bit of wiggle room. So yeah, I'll just wipe that off. Now if I'd have left that to dry on the silicone mat, it would then have just rolled off. So yeah, that's now actually fairly well adhered. Let's see if yeah, you see already it's beginning to set. It needs a little longer, but if I go back to the fine tip glue pen, that's not really set particularly well at all. It's still very wet. Yeah, so you get the difference. The fine tip glue pen needs a long time to dry. This doesn't need too long at all, but it gives you just that bit of wiggle room. Glue dots. This is an almost empty roll of glue dots. You get 300 on a roll, and they're on the roll, not the strip, if you see what I mean. So as you peel them off, this should come away clean and expose the dots. I always tie a little bit of ribbon round, so that you don't end up, if you drop it, you don't end up with 300 glue dots over your craft room. And then you can either stick your embellishment onto here, or take your piercing tool, peel off your glue dot, and then stick that onto your embellishment. It is brilliant for embellishments. That is one of its main purposes, but you can still stick paper, card, ribbon, all those sorts of things, and die cuts if you've got an area that's big enough. You can fold them in half, you can roll them into little balls, so they will be bigger, smaller. Tear and tape. so-called, because when you find the end, you can tear it. This again is brilliant for paper to card, card to card, embellishments, ribbon, glitter. Put a strip of that down and then put glitter on top. Any 3D accents, so let's think. When we had buttons would, you know, a little bit of that behind a button would be would be good. Those sorts of things. So let's pop that somewhere out of harm's way. Then we have our dimensionals, which we now have in 2 sizes. So we've got the original, which is that size, and then we've got our baby beanie weeny teeny weeny ones, which are so cute, which are that size. They are the same depth. Top tip with these is you don't forget the edges, because they're just as sticky. I had a session, a challenge, card making challenge, which if you follow me on Facebook and on my blog you will have seen about. And I did I do a post on here? Can't remember now. I actually went through the bins at the end of the day and pulled out lots and lots of sheets of edges, because they are perfectly usable. So these are, and for the UK, if you use these, you can still get your letter through as a small letter rather than paying the additional postage for a large letter with the Royal Mail. So brilliant. Love these. Get through lots, as you probably know. So that is those. Then we've got our foam strips. Now these are slightly fatter, so if you use these, you'll have to pay large letter. But these are brilliant for shaker cards in particular. So yeah, brilliant for those. Then our latest, but it's come back, are the adhesive strips. You can use these in 2 ways. You can either, probably more than 2 ways, but if you're thinking about these for die cuts, you can either peel the whole sheet. They actually come, this is half a sheet, so they come 6 by 12. You can either stick your piece of card onto the adhesive, so peel the top off, stick your card onto the adhesive sheet, having cut it to size, leave the backing on, then run it through your Big Shot. Or you can stick things onto your adhesive sheet and then peel them off without having to cut into the sheet. So you could then end up with little bits that you can then jiggle around. So let's see, I've got a funny shape here. So if I peel this back, I can either put that on and then, oops, lift off the adhesive, which is then there, or I could have put the whole piece of card on, then do the die cut, and then peel the back off, and then you've only got the glue on the bit that you actually need. So those are all our adhesives. So I hope you found that useful as an introduction. I will probably spend a bit more time on adhesives, but maybe not immediately. I will do a very quick tip on refills for next Tuesday, but other than that it will be other things for a while, and then I'll probably come back and do some more on adhesives. So I hope you found that interesting. Let me just bring them all back in so you can see them all again. And remember, page 202 and 203 are your friends when it comes to what can I do with adhesive. Oh, and one thing, Fast Fuse is brilliant for sticking ribbon down. I mean, you can use Snail and things like that, but if you just want to stick the end of a bit of ribbon around the back of a piece of card, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. It didn't work terribly well when we had the ruched ribbon last year for the in colours, or last catalogue for the in colours, because if you used it, you'd flatten the ribbon out. But actually, I've got a piece here, by which I mean that if you... I'm trying to find something to stick it to. I know. Let's find that piece that I've just thrown in the bin. So if I used Fast Fuse here, and then stick a piece of the ruched ribbon, and as I say, we don't have this problem, although probably with the crinkle ribbon it would be a problem. If I then stick that down, you still get a bit of crinkle, but not the look that you want. It basically flattens it out. So just bear that in mind with things that are meant to be crinkly. Just stick it around the back. So there we are. A quick whistle-stop tour of our adhesives. And remember that if you are thinking of joining up, and you do it in July, you get a snail as part of your starter kit, as part of the Christmas in July deal. So that would get you going, and this is a good sort of general purpose adhesive. So yeah, it's a good starting point, particularly for cards. I didn't bring back in our dimensionals. There we are. So there we go. I will see you again very soon. All the best. Bye.